I was watching my 5-year-old play his favorite video game. His still pudgy fingers grasped and prodded the buttons on his wireless controller. I looked away for a moment to get my glass of tea, and when I turned back to him, I saw 059 flashing on his controller. "Hey, Squirt," I said. "You only have about a minute of life left." He turned toward me with surprise in his eyes, then lay down on the floor with the controller beside him. "What are you doing?"
"I only have a minute left to live."
"What?" I said. "No, you only have about a minute left on your batteries in the controller." He laid there and he looked up at me.
"It's okay, Daddy."
That was when I got worried. I stood up from the couch and went to kneel next to him. "Here, honey, come here." I tried to pick him up, but he struggled a bit.
"It's okay, Daddy. I'm not scared."
His lips were blue. I lifted his shoulders and head. I wanted to pick him up and take him out to the car. I wanted to drive him to the hospital. But his head started to loll back over my arm. His eyes looked at me briefly, and then they looked beyond me. "Cal!" I held him and rocked him. "Wake up, Cal!" A wail rose from me, and my chest felt caved in. Even though I was screaming, inside a quiet thought came to me. This is what a broken heart feels like. I've been sad. This is to sadness what the ocean is to a cup of water. My eyes fell on the controller by his side. It was flashing 000. I picked it up and the number stopped flashing. I kept looking at it, and I realized that there was no place for numbers to light up. No screen. Later, I decided it was just some stupid trick of memory. I had to have a bad feeling, or tell something was going to happen, because I couldn't let the memory be as it was. My son died without enough time for me to do anything about it. Cal had a congenital heart defect. When he was born, the doctors said the defect might reverse itself. It was a hole between the two sides of his heart in the upper half. "We'll monitor it," they said. The hole never closed on its own. I made too much money to get assistance with medical bills and not enough money to pay for the open heart surgery. The doctors said that he might be fine without repairing the hole. I carried that hope like a banner. Cal was going to be okay. I wasn't a horrible father for failing to find a way to do the impossible. I buried my boy in the casket I could afford. Inside, I was screaming. "Cardboard? A cardboard box. I'm arranging financing for a cardboard box. This is my son, not a hamster." On the outside, I said, "Thank you for working with me." I didn't even have a memorial service for Cal. There were 2 days of visitation and a burial. No word said over him, no word said at the grave, no fancy signed book, no pamphlets. I have no family, I have no wife, so it was 2 days of me and him. Me, my guilt, my grief, and him. I will never know how I got through the months after that. All I know is that work is a place where I can jump in and not even think about my life for hours at a time. I get there early and stay late. There's no one to go home to, not even a pet. I could work round the clock and no one would notice until I started to stink. In an air-conditioned office, I could probably work for 2 days straight. Weekends are spent in bed. Sometimes I go to the grocery store. Today, out of the blue, I decided to get a bagel for lunch. My workload was a little lighter, and I didn't have any meetings at noon. It was just a spur-of-the-moment decision. I rode the elevator down and walked out the front door. The bagel place was about a 10-minute walk in good weather. I could bring my bagel back and eat it at my desk. Before I walked too far, I noticed a man across the street. He was nearly running with a briefcase in his hand. The briefcase was flashing 023. I stood stock still. Briefcases don't flash. I watched it count down. I didn't know what to do. 020. I can't even get close enough to him to shout a warning. 018. He stopped running. For a split second, I hoped the numbers would start going up again. 017. Traffic was bumper to bumper, and I thought about trying to dodge around them all. I even stepped off the curb, only to be startled by a horn. 015. I watched the last 15 seconds of the man's life. I stood there like I was glued to the spot. He turned red in the face and loosened his tie. He put his briefcase down while it continued to count down his life. He leaned forward then, bent in the middle, and sat on the sidewalk. He nodded and talked to people who came close to him. Then, he fell over sideways. I left before EMTs could arrive. In the office, I listened to the siren wail. I've asked myself so many times why I get to see the last part of a minute of anyone's life. In 1 minute, there was nothing to do for Cal. In less than half of a minute, I couldn't do anything to save that stranger. I was so angry, confused, and scared. Do I have to keep looking for people with seconds ticking? I was afraid that I was going to see times ticking backward for everyone now. I couldn't look at the people I worked with. I couldn't look at strangers. It seemed so incredibly cruel to let me know death was coming for someone without giving me a chance to help. I've been writing this all on my phone. Writing it. Rewriting it. Trying to make sure it makes sense. This isn't just the ravings of a madman. I saw these things happen. I wish to God I had never seen any of it. I really believe in the heart of my hearts that it is better not to know when death is coming. It's better to be a surprise. I can't describe the dread of watching a man die. I want someone to see my phone and find these notes. I don't know what they can do about it after they read them. Cal passed away almost 3 months ago. His toys and games and books litter the apartment. If I look closely, I can see dust on them. Dust. I feel like I'm filled with dust inside. I need to eat better, but I can't seem to make myself. This is my last entry. In the passing lane on the highway, on my way to work, wristwatch flashed 059. Now I get it. Too much traffic, can't get off the highway on the right. Can't get to the exit. pulled over on the left shoulder. It wasn't cruel to see Cal's time left or the stranger's. God's way of teaching me what the flashing numbers mean. His way of giving me the decision on what to do with the minute I have left. I didn't want anyone to have an accident or get hurt. That is what I described, posting on Reddit.